I know that there is a, to me, misconception that the Loop has gone through a lot of trying times. And being here for 40 years, I really look at the Loop overall as growing.
Opened Blueberry Hill September 8th, 1972. And at the time, the Loop had been in great decline for many years, and there were a lot of vacant storefronts, a lot of small offices on the street level, which were not conducive to pedestrian traffic. And within a week of opening, I realized that if I didn't work on the area, Blueberry Hill itself wasn't going to make it.
The biggest obstacles that the Loop has had to overcome have been sometimes the clientele. You know, there have been time periods when there have been unsavory characters that really visit the Loop, and so you don't want your young children or your teenagers visiting the Loop.
The prosperity that was coming to this country caused malls to start getting built in the 1950s, and little by little some of the shops moved out and second tier ones moved in. In the 1960s there was great white flight, great exodus as society changed all around the country, and it was at that time that a lot of people kind of dug their heels in and said, wait, this is nuts. Let's embrace diversity, make it a strength of the neighborhood. And a lot of open-minded and tolerant people stayed, and a lot of open-minded and tolerant people came in, and things started to stabilize. And even though it was a slow process, little by little through the 1970s, things began to change for the positive once again.
The Loop has worked itself through all these other stages of, you know, the desegregation in the 60s, going into the hippie generation, later into this decline in the neighborhood, and then coming out as we are in the last 10 or 15 years.
There have been certain plateaus, and then it grows again. More galleries, the cinemas that are here, and then clearly in the last 10 to 12 years, the creation of the pageant and the pinup bowl, and then the Regional Arts Commission, we built a building here.
Back in the 80s, it was already thriving. So it was a fun, enjoyable place to go, very eclectic, very multicultural, lots of things to see and do. And again, 30 years later, it's even more so. It's just amazing.
I think it's all about creating the product in the Loop that attracts people who want to have fun, attracts people that aren't going to make trouble.
My contribution to the Del Mar Loop is the Del Mar Loop Planet Walk. It's an idea that I conceived some years ago, and it's a scaled model of the solar system. It starts at the Moonrise Hotel with the space theme, seemed to make sense, and it runs down to Cicero's restaurant.
The Loop down here has always been the capital for alternative thought and alternative culture. It's where you go if you want to get away.
As the Loop developed through the years, and it was a slow process, it got to a point where things were very successful in the western part of the Loop, the University City part. But the city of St. Louis part, it was still kind of bombed out and not, it was very vacant and not so great in appearance. And it was real important to me that we connect the Loop to the Metrolink station, the Del Mar Loop Metrolink station, so that people could come in town and walk west and enjoy, great culture, great shops, great galleries, and great restaurants.
The opportunities with the Metrolink and with the Loop Media Hub, I mean, we very much are on the forefront of the 21st century.
The Loop Media Hub idea came in from other people, like while you're digging up the street to build the trolley, let's put the conduit in to put a real high capacity, high speed internet system in there 300 to 400 times faster in capacity than exists now.
I was invited to a Loop Trolley environmental impact statement meeting at the Missouri History Museum. And while I was at that meeting, they were showing the different drawings of possibilities of how the trolley would go through the neighborhood, where the stops would be, et cetera, et cetera. So I pulled over one of the Loop stakeholders and I said, well, if you're going to tear up the streets, you might as well go ahead and put a fiber duct in the right-of-way at the same time and provide this advanced gigabit internet capability to every building and organization along the right-of-way. So that stakeholder said, well, that sounds like a good idea. So I went ahead and started putting together a plan, a plan for the infrastructure and for this ecosystem of partners to support it. And then I took that to Mayor Shelley Welsh and explained the value proposition to her, how I saw this accelerating the innovation output of the community along the Loop Trolleyway, improving real estate values and improving public sector revenues. And she clearly understood that and immediately stepped up to the plate and decided to help this project along and lead.
We have the Loop Media Hub, which is the future. And then that's going in simultaneously with the Loop Trolley, which is kind of a throwback if you think about trolleys. So we've got the trolley, which is going to make transportation easy, combined with the Media Hub, which is the future. I mean, it's fascinating.
The organizations involved are amazing, and it's even more amazing that no one planned for this to happen. It's a sequence of similar initiatives that have aligned with each other. That being the urban innovation part through the university, the Loop Trolley itself, and the Loop Media Hub. All these organizations now see that as this all moves forward, that the neighborhood and the neighborhoods around this are going to go through a transformation process where these long-standing community boundaries are going to break down, and that these social silos are going to start to melt away, and the Loop is going to become something much bigger than it has before.
Science is only going to be more and more necessary and more valuable to us. Carl Sagan once said that we based our whole civilization on science, yet we know nothing about science.
We're planning on having apps so that you can navigate the Loop, and on the apps you'll be able to see cameras in the different clubs and venues and see who's playing. You'll be able to see cameras in parking lots so you know where you can park. And it'll be quite cool, all these things together. So between all these things, it's going to draw a lot of people to this part of town. So I see this being a big draw, not only regionally, but from rural Illinois and rural Missouri. So my prediction is there's going to be more people attending this than anyone realizes. And but I think that's good. Obviously, the city of St. Louis and University City will have to learn to adjust to that. But I think it's all part of something that's good and will work itself out.
It's going to give us in the Regional Arts Commission more capacity than we've ever dreamt possible. It's going to allow us to do a lot of things in our gallery that we can't do today, like big media boards, like showing a lot of the arts groups that we fund. We can actually, show them on screens that we just can't do now. Hopefully media walls that we can use to talk about the culture of the Loop, that we can use like in an advertising way, but really in a creative way.
I see that it will become literally have a global reflection upon what we've seen going on around the world, that the Loop will become the international and innovation heart of St. Louis. I see no end. I see it as an ongoing community process, which will just, if successful, will continually reinvent itself year over year.